Good morning and welcome to Richard Raw's Daily Meditation from the Centre for Action and Contemplation. The theme for this week is Contemplative Activists, and the theme for today, Wednesday the 15th of July 2020, is Defender of Liberation Theology. And this is how Richard Raw begins his contribution. Jesuit priest Pedro Arrupe, who lived between 1907 and 1991, was a deeply spiritual man who was entirely committed to serving others, particularly the poor in whom he saw Christ. Authors Kerry Walters and Robin Jarrell describe some of the pivotal events of his life. And this is what is described. He was 3 years into medical school in Madrid when a miraculous healing he witnessed at Lourdes sparked Pedro Arrupe's call to the Society of Jesus. He entered the order at the age of 19 and was ordained 17 years later after studying in Holland and Belgium. Following doctoral studies in the United States, Arrupe was sent as a missionary to Japan. He was serving in a Hiroshima suburb one day, on the day that the atomic bomb fell, and later described the horror as a permanent experience outside of history engraved on my memory. Calling on the skills he had acquired years earlier as a medical student, he quickly converted a damaged chapel into a makeshift hospital for bomb blast victims. Arrupe remained in Japan after the war years and was named Jesuit provincial there in 1958. 7 years later, fellow Jesuits elected him Father General of the entire order. During his leadership of the Jesuits, Arrupe was particularly supportive of his brethren who worked with the poor in Central and South America. These Jesuits combined spiritual ministry with social activism, convinced as they were that the poor were oppressed by wealthy landowners who acted with the tacit approval of the Church. The Roman hierarchy condemned this political involvement, as well as the liberation theology or gospel-based privileging of the poor that justified it. Arrupe disagreed, and he vigorously defended his priests even after the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith officially condemned liberation theology. He also refused to withdraw Jesuits serving in El Salvador despite persistent death threats against them, insisting that the people of that war-torn and oppressed nation needed them. 6 Jesuits who remained, including noted theologian Ignacio Ellacuria, were murdered, along with their housekeeper and her daughter, in 1989. Described by one of his friends as a second Ignatius, who refounded the Jesuit order in the light of Vatican II, Arrupe focused the Jesuits during his term as Father General on both renewed spirituality as a result of his years in Japan — Arrupe himself practiced Zen meditation daily — and social justice advocacy. Along with other proponents of liberation theology, he identified the suffering endured by the victims of war and poverty with Christ's passion, and taught that alleviating the one through justice was honoring the other in faith. Arrupe's leadership of the Jesuits and his quiet but persistent defense of their involvement in liberation theology came to an end in 1981 when a massive stroke left him paralyzed and mute. In resigning as Father General, he offered this prayer: "More than ever, I find myself in the hands of God. This is what I wanted all my life from my youth. But now there is a difference. The initiative is entirely with God. It is indeed a profound experience to know and feel myself so totally in God's hands." Here ends the meditation for today.